Welcome, everybody. Hot on the heels of Forbidden Door, one of AEW's major pay-per-views of the year. It is I, the Good, also known as the Reverend Jason Todd. No encyclopedia today, but if I look over to my right, I see the bad, the devil's advocate, who has some very pointed thoughts on last weekend's events. Well, I'm going to cut right to you. I will stand by. Tell the people what you thought about Forbidden Door.
All right. Well, first of all, good evening. Good. Bad here. Ready to talk about Forbidden Door. Okay, so first of all, let me once again pat myself on the back. As current reigning defending champion, I did go 10-2, while my partners in crime both went 9-3. Not bad, but I'm better. Once again,
We're
hi
just trying to be like
encyclopedia.
you.
Hi encyclopedia. Right now he's going. It's first up a Bruce Street. All right. So I'm gonna skip past the opening matches because I'll be honest, I perused them. I really didn't watch them all that closely. I want to stick to the main card. Um, and I'm gonna go I'll go match by match. I'll give you a few thoughts on each one just because I really enjoyed this card. To me, there was one dud on this entire card. Um, the rest of the matches I thought were good or even great. So starting off with the Elite versus the Acclaimed, and we have Okada and Tanahashi. Good match. The one thing I will say, Tanahashi has definitely lost a step here and there. I don't know if he's injured or just injuries have taken its toll, but he's not as explosive as he used to be. But a very entertaining match and a nice way to start off the pay-per-view. What can you say about Danielson? I mean, the man could wrestle a broomstick and make it look interesting. And not that his opponent Shingo was not good. It's just they're different styles. Shingo's more of a power wrestler, and Danielson's more of a finesse wrestler. And it was an interesting clash in styles. But we got, of course, Danielson with the win. The trios match. The trios match is the one match we all kind of tanked on. We all thought the Learning Tree was going to win. Jeff Cobb is amazing. If you haven't seen him wrestle before, you're not going to see a guy his size do the things he can do. He's entertaining as hell. He also can wrestle. Fun match. Like there's chemistry there. They all had a nice run. Hook is really coming into his own as like more than just a wrestler now. He's starting to get that little personality working in the ring. Samoa Joe always great. Fun match. The MJF match. I think I apologize. I think that's the one that started the show. It was what it was. I mean, it was again a clash of styles because his opponent is more power and he was more like submission style, and MJF is MJF. It was fine. It wasn't anything to write home about. I think that was the wrong opponent for him. But it sounds like on Dynamite this week they kind of kicked things up a notch. So I think the MJF being all cuddly is over, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Zack Sabre, Orange Cassidy, great match. I mean, Orange Cassidy really showed he can wrestle. Because Zack Sabre, if you don't know who he is, if you haven't seen him wrestle before, he's a submission specialist. He's like, if I can throw back to like the Billy Robinson or the William Regal of this era. There's very few guys I think that can go hold for hold with him, and Orange Cassidy held his own. He got put in a position. Where you see the end of the match, if you haven't seen it, he basically got tied in such a knot that he couldn't get out. He had to submit. So, like I watch, he's like, well, his legs, no, his leg's not free either. Oh, well, he's dead. He's not getting out of this. So good match, fun match. The women's title match, Toni Storm versus Mina. Again, fun. The only thing I'll say is I think Mina got a lot more offense in than I was expecting. Toni Storm pulled the win out though, but at the end, the three ladies got together and kind of made up and kissed, and it was kind of funny. And then I don't know if you saw after they had a video of the three of them walking away, and they're all like they're holding each other's butts and stuff, and it was kind of funny. Like I don't know, they got endless potential with those three, so I hope they keep working that. Um, Interesting. The Mercedes Monet versus Stephanie Vaccaro. Stephanie Vaccaro is amazing, and the fans turned on Mercedes Monet halfway through the match. They were booing her and cheering for Stephanie like nobody's business. Like
Really?
totally turned on. And I'll tell you what, Mercedes Monet looked like she was being carried throughout this match. She did not look sharp. So all that time off away from the ring has definitely. I mean, I never was impressed with her in the first place, but all that time off in the ring, she was off. She was not herself. Like Stephanie was carrying her through that match. Like I hope after the match that she goes up to her and Mercedes goes up to her and thanks her for carrying her through that match. And just as a side note, I've read that Mercedes Monet has creative control over character, and I'm already cringing because you can already see she's going to decide who she loses to and when, and I don't like that. I don't think any wrestler should have creative control over their character. And if Jason, if you have something to say about that, we can talk about it. Let me just get through the rest of the pay per
Yeah,
view.
no, no. I want to come back to her.
Yeah. Oh, hang on to that. I got two more matches. The title match, predictable that we picked Jack Perry to win, but again, another fun match. Um, they tore the house down. They did a lot. The funny part was El Phantasmo wasn't wearing his mask, and when he first came out, I'm like, who the hell is that? Like, I wasn't. When I watched the show, I watched it after it was live, so I didn't watch all the ring intros. I kind of just get to the matches.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Who is this? I had to go back and look, and I'm like, oh, all right, I know who he is now. He's big in Japan. All right, cool, I get it. But without his mask, I didn't recognize him at all because he used to wear like a dark mask, and I think it had like tails on it. So
Mhm.
I recognized him that way, but without his mask, I had no idea who he was. So I had to go back and go back to the intros and figure out who it was. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. I didn't realize he was wrestling without his mask. All right, whatever. And then finally, we get to our main event: Strickland and Ospreay. And wow, what a great match! False finishes, yes, but it almost felt like it is the way it should be. Like I felt like if Strickland was going to win, he had to earn it. Like he wasn't gonna do one shot off the top rope and beat Will Ospreay. I almost felt like he had to, if he was gonna win, if they were really gonna put him over, he had to go over the top, and he did, and he won. And when the end of the match was over, the show of respect, you can tell, there's a great amount of respect between the two of them. Whatever they were saying to each other, like Strickland, you can tell was saying to him, like, I really appreciate what you did. Um, and they sold. The funny part was for not selling a lot, they sold the end of the match. Like Don Callis came out and was trying to interfere, and Ospreay wouldn't have any of it. And then Kyle Fletcher came out and was like consoling Ospreay. Like they really sold it like it was a big deal that he lost. And
So
a big,
more than the moves themselves, they sold the emotion of the match.
yeah, yeah, they really did. Um, it had big match feel in my opinion, and I I think I was the one that said there's going to be a rematch in the future and it's going to be big. I think I'm right. I think at some point down the line they are going to meet again. I don't know if it's going to be for the title. I don't know. They're both young. They both signed long-term deals. This could be a feud that happens over many years. I think because what you found out after is that not only are they friends, really good friends, but it was Ospreay's idea to put Strickland over because he wanted to give him that rub. That he felt like Strickland shouldn't be like a transitional guy. He's the real deal. And you know what? In this day and age, when everybody's looking out for themselves and all the wrestlers are, I want to put myself over, you kind of have to give Osprey credit for that. You have to say to him, "Wow, that's thinking outside the box. Like he's thinking long term. He's not thinking like I win now, I squash Strickland, and that's it, and it's over, and we don't have anything happen again." He's thinking like this is going to be, we're setting ourselves up for matches down the line. I
You
might have
know,
lost, but we're in for the long haul. Go ahead.
That's an interesting point that you're bringing up because um, I think both you and I agreed about this before. We were like, oh man, kind of wish they had held off on this match
Yeah.
because now one, no matter who the winner is, they kind of screwed the other guy, and you could have built up, a big thing along the way. And I gotta tell you, if the purpose of the match was to establish that Swerve Strickland is your AEW champion for real, then
They did
hats
it.
off to them.
They did it. It
That
was
that's a great call.
it was a great call by me. No, I'm kidding. Um, by you as well. You agree with me. I think there's long-term booking here. And if you think about it, you've got Daniel Garcia and you've got MJF and you've got Ospreay and you've got Strickland. They're all young guys relatively.
Yeah.
So like think long term. Think like, all right, you don't have to beat me today. You can beat me later. Or
Yes.
or we'll have rematches later. Like this isn't the end of it. Ospreay certainly has a case for asking for a rematch at some point, if that's the direction they want to go, or if they want him to, if they want MJF to win, and then, excuse me, Ospreay beats MJF at Wembley. I still think Ospreay's going to win at Wembley.
Mm.
I think that's going to happen. I just don't know who yet. I don't know what the plan is, but it's rare. We're always complaining about AEW not planning ahead, not thinking about angles and stuff. This was well thought out, and if Will Ospreay was really the author of this, then he deserves all the credit in the world. Because
Agreed.
it looks like he's trying to elevate. He looks like he's trying to elevate a lot of people. It sounds like tonight he elevated Garcia. So it sounds like he's doing what everybody else talks about. Like, I'm going to come here and I'm going to make guys better. He's actually doing it. He's
Hmm.
trying.
And there are a lot of talented wrestlers out there, but there are not a lot of wrestlers who can do that, elevate the person they're with in the ring through the course of just having a match.
I mean, and AEW has Danielson who can do that,
Mm-hmm.
and now they have Ospreay that can do that. So I
Osprey to
mean,
me is that, and I guess reincarnation is not exactly the right word, but he is the wrestling reincarnation of AJ Styles in terms of he's gonna, like, you can put him in any type of match
with
with
any opponent.
anybody,
Yep.
and you're gonna get the best out of him. You're not getting the
Yeah.
dud out of either one.
AJ Styles,
And
the same thing. You give him a broomstick and he'll make it a match.
yep,
Yeah.
and it's good to see that it's
And
something they need. That
Kenny Omega's like that too.
Yes,
Kenny
that's a
Omega
good
can definitely elevate guys too when he's healthy.
yes. Although
So
I
and
will say this, sometimes I feel like, and I might be in the minority about this, but I feel like I've gotten more emotional content out of a Will Ospreay match than I have out of a lot of Kenny Omega matches because he does spectacular things. I feel like they both do spectacular things,
mhm,
but sometimes I feel like Omega's matches are very shiny and
that's a fair
cool.
statement.
Yeah, and cool, but I
But I
don't
mean,
feel it
he
all the
has
time.
elevated though. He has
Yeah, and
elevated
he
guys
has.
though. So
I'm not saying he never
you know,
does.
he's
I'm
not
just
a
saying
Adam Copeland who shows up and hasn't let anybody beat him yet.
exactly the
You know
only
what I mean?
person that can beat Adam Copeland is physics. So,
Yeah. No age.
and age, yes.
So I did not. I purposely skipped the worst match in my opinion of the night.
Tell us a little bit about that.
John Moxley versus Naito.
This
I
is
don't
hard
know.
to hear.
I don't know what it was about this match. It just didn't work. Naito looked soft. Like at some point, he and Moxley are exchanging forearms, and his forearms just look sad. And Moxley pretty much controlled most of the match. And like when Naito does his finish to Destino, which is kind of like he picks he jumps up and kind of falls backwards on top of you. It's hard to explain his move. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You could tell Moxley was like helping him.
Hmm.
Like Moxley was lifting him up. You know what I mean? Like it looked like Moxley was carrying him the entire match. I don't know what it was. Um, there's usually more of a crispness to Naito's moves.
Yep.
His when he does the thing where like he slides and then he like leans on his elbow. He kept spitting at Moxley, like he spit at him like 50 times. Like I'm 50 times, I'm exaggerating, but too many times. That's usually a move he does like once a match.
Right.
It just didn't work. And we all picked Naito to win because the IWGP title has to go back to Japan. It's not here for full time, which
Right.
is fine. But that match just didn't work for me, and I was surprised because I've seen Naito wrestle before, and he's good. And
I
of
mean,
course, Moxley is Moxley.
has Naito been injured? I'm trying to remember if he had just recently come off of injury.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Hmm.
I actually didn't pay all that much attention to the IWGP title. It just does. It's just not that important to me. With all the other titles AEW has, this isn't theirs.
Right.
And I would feel the same way if like the Mexican heavyweight champion was here. I just don't care that much. And they did a horrible job of building this. Like Naito has he's part of that faction that Rush was part of.
Yes.
Except the Japan version, they brought that up once. Like they didn't sell this match at all. Like they were hoping the reputation of the IWGP title would sell this match,
Mhm.
but I don't think they did any kind of plugging other than Moxley doing his promos. And to me, if you're going to sell a match, both sides have to have something to say, or at least you have to have like a video package of Naito, like not the night of the show. I want to know a few weeks before. Like I wasn't going to buy this pay-per-view based on this match. I can tell you that much.
Fair.
You know what I mean? And
Actually,
what?
I forgot that the match happened until you
Yeah.
brought
Well,
it
I
up.
I skipped it. You didn't even say anything. So yeah, I mean, I probably could have went right past it. And like I said, the other thing that, like I said, the Mercedes Monet match was probably the second worst match because the fans turned on her fast. Like halfway through the match, all the great moves were done by Vakor.
Hmm.
Monet screwed up a couple of her moves. Um, those were the two disappointments of the night. But otherwise, I could say that it was a really strong card. I really enjoyed it. Um, I'll again go back to they're too long.
Yeah.
I had to watch this in segments because I couldn't sit through both of them at the same time. But I did enjoy every part I watched. Minus those the two matches I said that I had some criticism of. But it
Okay.
was certainly a card I would watch again. That's no doubt about that. Especially Ospreay Strickland.
I feel like has it been Osprey matches now that you've said that about maybe two of the last three pay-per-views or something like that? I feel like
Yeah,
you've been able to say
I would watch if
this
there was
match
one
I recommend.
wrestler's match I could watch. It would be him. If I
That
could
is
only watch
fair.
one wrestler, and that's WWE, AEW, New Japan, all of them. Will Ospreay.
That is saying something. All right. Back to Mercedes Monet. I something you said made me think because
Mm.
I've been wondering about this because she is considered a great wrestler, and many circles considered a great wrestler. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving my opinion one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Also considered one of the MVPs of the in the lockdown era. They were in the performance center. It's her and Bailey and Asuka and Kyrie and all of them
Mm-hmm.
really kind of running around on all shows, doing everything. And to be fair, she knew that character of Sasha Banks. She had that down, so she knew who that was. I'm beginning to wonder if out of the four horsewomen, she was the one being carried in all their matches more often than not. Because it's fair to say that in 2020, Bailey and Asuka's work and Kyrie Sane's work was in ring work was what was carrying the women's division. And Sasha, the character of Sasha Banks, played a huge part of that. But I don't know if the wrestler Sasha
So
Banks did.
who were the four horsewomen? It was Bailey,
Bailey,
Charlotte Flair,
Charlotte Flair, Becky
Becky
Lynch,
Lynch,
and Sasha Banks.
and Sasha Banks. So let's go through the list. So Bailey,
goat
right?
status. Right.
Maybe my favorite female wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Right? Charlotte Flair, don't love her, but can't deny she's got talent.
Yeah. She
Hate the
can
way
go.
she's booked. She's booked horribly,
Yes, but she can go.
but she can wrestle. Becky Lynch, don't love Becky Lynch either,
Mm,
but I can respect Becky Lynch because
fair.
she has a passion for wrestling. You know that. Don't think she's a
And
great
it shows
wrestler.
every match.
I think she's a her character's. I'm kind of glad she's gone away. I think her character was getting stale. But all due respect. And then we get to Sasha Mercedes, whatever you want to call her. Has she gotten better over the years? No. When she debuted in New Japan, she almost injured her first opponent, right? When she went to do her move, she totally messed that up. Then she got hurt. Then she came back and she won the New Japan title. Then she got hurt again. And then she's out. And all they have at that point is her promo skills to keep her afloat so she can wrestle, and she botches it. Everybody says her promo skills are subpar. She doesn't know how to talk. And
I
here we
think
are now.
I think I don't know if it's that she doesn't know how to talk or she doesn't know who she is in this. Like, who is this person?
But it's
Everything about it feels very manufactured. This
isn't it
character.
basically the same character? She was the boss, and now she's the CEO. Isn't that the same thing?
Yes and no. I feel like the evolution of Sasha Banks into the boss character, that was, and maybe it's because we saw that evolution and we really saw how she became that person. It worked, and it always felt like to me it's a big deal. I have to feel like the person on the mic knows who they are. Like, they know who that person. It's not a character. That's who they are when the lights are on, and you can tell when they don't know. So it's the difference between then and now is that I feel like she doesn't know who this is. She knows who her theme song and AEW says Mercedes Moné is, and CEO, and the weird manufactured the can CEO chants and all this stuff. It just doesn't seem. It doesn't add up for me somehow. It feels off, and the whole presentation feels off. And then her promos are like, I don't think she believes it. And in the ring, yeah, it's weird. Like, she has that weird finishing move now where she could have kept the submission bank statement or called it whatever she wanted, renamed it however, but she got a move that she can't pull off on a lot of people.
Yeah, she's too small.
Yeah, exactly. She's too small for it. It's like nobody's gonna ask Zelina Vega to do a press slam. It's just not gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like even going back to her WWE days, if you ask me a non-Bailey classic match of hers, the only one I can state is versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, during which everything clicked.
Yeah.
And that's it. I can't.
Here's my two problems. Right. I understand what you're saying. Well, I got three things I'm going to say. Number one, she's been injured on and off. That doesn't help. But while you're injured, shouldn't you be working on your promo skills?
Yeah.
And number three, I think she got by a lot by having a reputation or having a relationship with Snoop Dogg. I think that helped her because it's more of it made her more of a personality than a wrestler. She had an association with another famous person. And I think the other thing is, we want to act and we want to be in Hollywood. When do we have time to train? And we're hurt, so we're not training. So I think her ring work is not great because she's rusty as hell. And I'm not sure it was ever all that good to begin with. I think she was good as her opponents. And I think, like I said, I think Stephanie Vacour made her look bad.
Mm.
Because, and I'm curious to see when you get to watch the match, I'm curious to see what you think. Because the fans certainly turned on her halfway through. and she botched a couple of moves, and the fans were on it like white on rice. It was like that they didn't let up. Once the first botch came, they were looking for a reason to boo, because I don't think they knew who Stephanie Vacour was. Again, I think they did a poor job of telling you who this person was and why we should care. She made us care, right? It's rare you ever watch a match like it's rare you watch a match where someone you know is supposed to win and someone is getting cheered. All of a sudden, things start to turn, right? And all of a sudden, now all the fans are, and even the commentators didn't really even know what to do with that,
Mhm.
because because Mercedes is supposed to be the one everybody cheers for, and she's supposed, and it didn't happen. And now Britt Baker's back,
Yes. Well,
and
I
you're
feel
like,
like
uh
you're
oh.
bringing that up, and that's a good segue. I think. I Before we move into Dynamite, was there anything else you wanted to talk about from
The
from the
only thing I want
weekend?
to mention is Will Ospreay and the Hayabusa connection.
Yes, let's talk about that because I had
And
no idea who this was until you educated me, and
so, yeah,
it's really
give me a
impressive.
30 seconds to pontificate a little bit about him.
Hmm.
If you're unfamiliar with Hayabusa, I certainly recommend that you go on YouTube and look up some of his matches. Why is he important? Well, he's one of the original high flyers. He was a great high flyer. He was big in FMW in Japan, which is usually known for their hardcore exploding death matches, all that kind of Terry Funk, Cactus Jack kind of crazy stuff. They were really known for that, and he kind of came out of there and won a lot of titles and made a name for himself. And then he came to ECW. For those ECW fans, there were a couple of matches where he and the man formerly known as Hakushi wrestled Rob Van Dam and Sabu in an outstanding match. Unfortunately, Hayabusa went to do a moonsault and jumped on the second rope and fell backwards and broke his neck. And it officially, at that point, ended his career. He was called the ace of FMW. That's what he was like. He was like the biggest star of that organization. Um, and like I said, unfortunately, he got hurt um, and had to leave wrestling. And at some point, he was a singer, and he was an interviewer. Like, he tried to do some things, never really got the success that he had as a wrestler. Um, and then unfortunately he died of a I think it was a cerebral hemorrhage in 2016. He was only 47. Um, at the time of his death, he was learning how to walk with a cane, so he was kind of getting back up and around, and he was out there a little more, trying to get his name out there and doing commentary, like I said. But he did unfortunately pass away, and he was a super, super influence on a lot of young wrestlers. One of them being Will Ospreay, uh, Jushin Thunder Liger, and he were great friends. RVD, Sabu. Sabu did a lot of appearances for FMW with his uncle, the Sheik. So they were all very familiar. Rob Van Dam knew him. Um, really a big influence on a lot of the younger guys. And this show, when Will Ospreay came out, he had on this white mask. I think he had two masks for the one video I did see, and that was a tribute to Hayabusa. And what you found out later is he, number one, he met with the family, he had dinner with Hayabusa's family, and asked them if he could pay tribute to him. He wanted to wear the mask and the outfit he was wearing, and they enthusiastically said yes. And then even later on, you find out that his brother, Hayabusa's brother, had sent a letter to AEW with permission to print it, and it was basically, thank you for paying tribute to my brother. My brother would have loved it. Blah blah blah, all very nice and lovely things. And Will Ospreay is a student of the game, a student of wrestling, and wanted to pay tribute to someone that he truly honored. And you got to love that kind of stuff. I mean, Hayabusa not well known, probably now. like you said, you didn't, you pretty much know wrestling and you didn't know too much about him. I'm not holding that against you. I
Right.
only
No.
know because I watch wrestling from all over the world, and can't even say I've seen 10 Hayabusa matches, but I did know his influence. I've read a lot of books about Japanese wrestling, and that kind of stuff really fascinates me. And Inoki you talk about, and Liger, and Hashimoto, and Saito, and all those guys, but Hayabusa's right up there. He's like maybe in the top 10 most influential wrestlers in Japan. Um, so I thought it was just a classy move all the way. And like I keep falling in love with Will Ospreay over and over again because I love the fact that he's looking to elevate guys, and he's not over the hill. Like, he's not an old guy. He doesn't have to
Right.
elevate anybody, but he's looking at AEW and saying, I can do this. I've got this kind of influence, and I know who I am, and I know if you beat me, it makes you somebody. And I want to do that. I want to elevate all these other guys. I want us, if we're all staying here this whole time, let's make it so like every match is going to be great,
Right.
right? And and I love that. I love that attitude. I think it's so the way it should be. I'm tired of all these guys who are refusing to lose or don't want to put people over. That's what makes wrestling great. It's your opponents, who you beat, who you lose to, right? The angles you're involved in. If you're just beating everyone, who the hell cares? Right? And Will Ospreay, we were like, oh, they're shooting him right to the top. He's just going to beat everybody, blah blah. And no, he's actually not.
That's right.
He's
Yeah.
taking a step back.
It's an
And
interesting thing. I feel like of all the people on the planet, there's this Cornette quote about it where he talks about if you see two people fighting on the side of a road, one little guy, one big guy, and let's just say now you know them because you want to see what happens because it's automatically interesting. But now you know them and you know the big guy is a jerk and you know the little guy is like one of you and is fighting for you and you agree with it and is overcoming great adversity in this fight. You want to see how it goes, but you also want to believe he can win, even if there's no reason he should win. You want to be able to believe it. And a lot of times the best stuff that comes up in wrestling is that ability to suspend your disbelief. Say, oh man, for a minute, I thought that was it. Oh, I love when that happens. Um, yeah, and Will Ospreay seems to be understanding that, and way more than I ever gave him credit for understanding. And I'm so happy to see it. It's just really great.
yeah, I mean, I hope with the tribalism between WWE and AEW, like you can't be one fan or the other. I hope people forget about that and just like appreciate Will Ospreay, man. We don't have him forever,
You don't.
and he might be the best wrestler on the planet right now.
He's definitely got an argument for it.
You know,
Um, that's the thing. There's so much talent out there. Like you have people doing, regardless of what brands you like. So you have so many people out there doing some amazing things, and I'd hate to think you were so wrapped up. Like I'd hate to think you were so wrapped up in the tribalism that you missed out on the ridiculous, insane ending of WrestleMania this year, and what came with that, and the build up to that, and what that run was for Roman Reigns and what they're trying to build off of it now afterwards. And I'd hate to think you're so wrapped up in the tribalism that you're ignoring the progress that the talent in AEW has been making and the quality that they're giving you in the ring on a regular basis, regardless of what you think of booking or what you think of Tony Khan. I mean, damn. And I've been to a couple of shows. I've never watched a match thinking, "Oh, these guys can't wrestle."
I mean, I don't know what people are looking for. AEW is the alternative to WWE. They're just
It
interested in putting on
is.
great matches. They're not really
It
so concerned
is.
about angles. So like,
Yeah.
just I just
Although
lear-
some of the angles are getting pretty good.
I just love them both. I just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
watching them both because they're WWE is definitely more story driven,
Hmm.
and AEW is more match driven. And where I don't love every story in WWE, I don't love every match in AEW. So I just go with the flow. And
Yeah.
I'm happy that both
And
companies are successful because I don't want these guys not to be able to work. Like I
exactly.
want Dijak to be able to go, do I want to go to AEW, or maybe I want to try Japan, or maybe I want to go to Mexico, or maybe I want to go to TNA. I like the fact that he's got 4 or 5 options
Hmm?
that he can ply his wares wherever he wants.
Not for nothing. The thought that anybody, but any of us, we don't know these folks. Like we don't. We know them
I know
through the
them all.
screen. Well, yeah, except for you, of course. But we don't know them. And why would you wish for anything but for them to have success and be able to go work and do good things in front of a crowd and make money doing that? Like, because the funny thing is, these guys, for the most part, they're all rooting for each other behind the
They're
scenes.
all friends. Most of them
They're
know each
all
other.
friends, and even if they're not friends, they're colleagues at worst. For most, I mean, except for Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg. But
And
oh,
Reverend, think of it this way, right? We had this happen before where WWE was the only game in town, and look what happened. It was garbage, right? It was garbage because Vince McMahon could throw whatever he wanted on the wall, against the wall. Because what alternative did we have? We had none, right? WCW
true.
had folded, and he couldn't even get past his own ego to let that succeed, right? I mean, WCW should have
Relaunched
continued.
ECW. Did the
Yeah.
Great One Night Stand, relaunched ECW, and then ran it into the ground because who's going to stop him?
Well, I mean, because Vince didn't create it, so he
Right.
had to destroy it.
Hmm.
I mean, there's so many instances of that. We could spend all night talking about that. But
We could, but as the show closed over the weekend, and we're going to skip past Monday Night Raw, although there were some interesting things on Raw. But I want to go right into Dynamite. I want to keep this AEW thing going.
go.
I want to go right into Dynamite that just finished before we got online to do this episode. Some quick things, some quick thoughts on it. I told you guys before that I enjoy the learning tree gimmick for Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about his in-ring so much as
No.
it is just that character. And tonight, because of the events of Forbidden Door, where Hook got the win, and apparently Taz gave his son a standing ovation as he was proud to see him get the win, Chris Jericho had a favor from the EVPs and got Taz kicked out of the building because he didn't want to have to do commentary next to him. And then we got Chris Jericho on the mic doing color commentary for a trios match with Hook and Samoa Joe and Shibata, thank you, against Cage of Agony, which is Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. And Chris Jericho is freaking hilarious. I don't know how he came up with the idea to just sit there. He's just said the dumbest, most obvious things, and Excalibur wouldn't know how to respond. He's like, "Well, yes, that's how a match works. Thank you." Oh, and if you get a chance to go back and watch it, he's just off the chain hilarious. But then that match ended with him and the rest of his group giving the beat down to those three, and it was a pretty good beat down too. But I wanted to highlight that. Yes, we got some Mercedes Moné interrupting Britt Baker and getting booed for her efforts. And I don't even know what she said during that promo because they were so busy booing her.
Yeah. She's getting Dominic Mysterio type heat now.
Yeah,
which isn't such a good thing. I mean, it's turned that it's good for Dominic now.
Yes,
but in the beginning it was not good.
It.
Well, yeah, because his character evolved.
He learned what to do, right? But even then, it wasn't that strong a setup for, I guess, what's the upcoming match. I don't think she accepted the challenge, but Britt Baker wants the TBS title. Okay, cool. Um, I want to just get into the main event, which was Daniel Garcia challenging for
The
the
international
international
title. Yeah.
title from Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, who just wrestled this match over the weekend, and you could tell he had those wounds, he had those scars, but those two had an amazing match, and it was one of those where you're talking about elevating your talent. Well, we already know the talent that Daniel Garcia has. But this was a match that said, no, really, this guy is good. You should look at what he's doing to me. And there is a sequence with neck breakers and a pile driver, no, and a DDT. And Ospreay at this point, and at maybe several other points, looked like he was holding onto his neck for dear life. And it was so cool. But the key factor in this was MJF was in Daniel Garcia's corner. And as the match ended, and Ospreay won, and I mean, Garcia got his ovation. They got the respect. Ospreay leaves. The match ended when MJF tried to give Garcia the ring, the diamond ring, and Garcia didn't want it. He said, okay. And he turned around and walked right into a hidden blade. And MJF gets up there. He's our darling, everybody's favorite. Happy to see him again. And he tells him, that was my fault, Danny. You had this. You still got it. You're going to be champ eventually. Gets him, does the whole thing to the crowd, playing to the crowd, and then kicks him right in the balls. And beats the ever-living hell out of Daniel Garcia. I believe the last time we saw him give a beating like this was to William Regal. Matt Menard comes running out and beats him down too, and then goes right back to Garcia, and
Who
then
hasn't
goes
beaten
back
Matt Menard down?
Oh, he bloodied him up. The term Crimson Mask now has a new definition.
It's called the Matt Menard.
Yeah, I believe so. He looked. Oh man, if you can get a photo of it, I'm telling you, it was serious. And that's how we ended. And I mean, the hell
out. Ospreay came out, right, and tried to save.
Eventually, Ospreay comes out. He looks like he's ready to fight, and then MJF runs away into the crowd. Runs into the crowd, and I don't know. I love this, the state of not knowing. Gets into it with some of the fans. Gets one of them so mad that security legit has to step in before he leaves. And MJF is doing his thing now. And they were all booing him. And not one, oh, this is a great heel work thing, none of that. No, they were all, everybody in there hated MJF legitimately when that took place. And it was great to see on television. I hated him. Watching it on TV, I was like, oh man, I know he's gonna do it, but damn.
So I guess the whole Adam Cole Wardlow thing is just kind of left by the wayside, huh?
I can't tell. I don't know what they're building with that. I don't know what they're going to do with
Wardlow
it.
hasn't been on TV in weeks, right? And the last time he wrestled, he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam Cole came out the one time, and MJF kicked him in the balls and threw him out of the ring, and that ended that. So I guess it's over.
Yes, and now I don't know if they're still. I don't even know if they're still in the company at this point. I don't know, but this does elevate. This does make the MJF Will Ospreay thing way more interesting now.
Well, is it MJF Will Ospreay or is it MJF Daniel Garcia? Because it sounds like it's going to be Daniel Garcia for a little while.
I think I can see them having a program.
And then because Ospreay, I mean, like I said, I don't really know where they're going with all this.
Right.
Are they leading up to Ospreay winning in Wembley? When's Wembley? Isn't that the end of the summer?
Yeah, I think we got what, a month and a half, 2 months.
So I mean, I don't know if they're thinking about MJF Ospreay for the international title, and that being the main. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. This is the one
Because
thing I can't seem to figure
one
out.
thing we were thinking about was MJF Swerve, but another thing that took place on Dynamite was the reintroduction of somebody else who you can put into a program with Swerve, and that was
Hangman Page.
Man Adam Page.
And then you also have to remember the winner of the Owen Hart tournament gets a world title shot.
Yes, and so that'll be either Danielson or Page or who's his opponent coming up.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
So that probably tells me it's not going to be that guy.
It's not Jeff Jarrett.
No, it's not. That was a hell of a beating he put on Jeff Jarrett there, which is in the rare role of the good guy of a match, and they pulled that off pretty well with just one move on the outside, turning Jeff Jarrett into the temporary baby face. But yeah, angry, furious, unhinged at Hangman Adam Page. I don't mind that either. So it looks like they're trying to set up challengers, if not, right away, but for down the road. Like you don't know how their paths are going to cross, but they're going to cross. And then there is that eventual Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland rematch. That who knows? Who knows when we'll get it? They did some nice. They did a nice job setting some things up. And that's what we've talked about with AEW. So, are you building? And it looks like they're laying down the foundation. So, yeah, good stuff. But I know you know a little bit about what went on. You know about what was going on with Dynamite. Do you have any thoughts about what could be happening in the next couple of weeks?
No, I mean the one thing I'll say is I think the one of the problems AEW always has is they have momentum coming off a pay-per-view and then they don't set anything up, and it sounds like they may be setting something up. So what it is, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know where this MJF Daniel Garcia Will Ospreay thing fits. So I think MJF and Daniel Garcia are going to feud a little bit, and MJF's going to beat him, and then he's going to challenge Ospreay.
Oh, that's interesting.
For the international title, and maybe Ospreay loses the international title, but then wins the world title from Swerve. I don't know. It's hard to say. I was pleasantly surprised the way things were booked this weekend, other than a couple of things, but I don't know where they're going from there. So I have to think things through because I read Dynamite. I didn't get to watch Dynamite.
Right.
And I think when I watch it, I kind of absorb it a little better and try to get a better idea where things are going. So I'm not sure yet.
That's fair.
But with Wembley right around the corner, I'm trying to figure out where Will Ospreay fits into this because I think he's going to end up main eventing the show. I don't know if it's going to be for the world title. I wouldn't do a rematch.
That's the question.
I would have him defend the international title because remember, you can pull that off. Remember, Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid fought for the Intercontinental title.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe I wouldn't even have Swerve on the card. Maybe I'd have Swerve injured or something, or so there's so there's no interference or something like that, and have Will Ospreay be the main event defending the international title on that show.
Well, if you want to do that, I mean, not for nothing, you have two perfect candidates for that villain role because you have an unhinged Adam Page running around back. I mean, if anybody has a desire to take out Swerve, it's him. So, yeah, there are things, and I enjoy not knowing. Like, I enjoy it not being obvious. But as long as when they get to that destination, it makes sense.
I mean, the other thing I think they kind of missed out on is, I mean, the Christian thing was a one and done, and I thought
Yeah.
they might have been able to stretch that out some more because let's face it, if anybody has an axe to grind with Swerve, it's Nick Wayne,
Yes.
right?
And
And
they
I
they
don't.
even touched on that a little bit, but we never really. And did they have a match? I feel like they did have
They
a
did.
match, but we
They
didn't
he wrestled all
still have
three
that.
of them,
That's right. That's right. Because he
but
wrestled
it was like
Killswitch after that
boom,
match.
boom, boom, and then it was over.
Yeah.
And I might have given Swerve the win like by shenanigans
Hmm.
to get Christian a rematch because the one thing they don't seem to do either company really anymore are rematches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
we got Cody Roman, but it took a year.
yeah.
You know what
I
I mean?
mean, we
Like
did have Cody and AJ
AJ.
Styles,
Mhm.
which was rare.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Cody and AJ Styles, they are WWE guys, and I did mention that there was a Monday Night Raw where some things happened, and most importantly, the field for the men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches were final, which brings us to this weekend's first premium live event, Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank, where a certain encyclopedia will be in attendance. Yeah, it's some thoughts. So, let's jump right into the picks for this thing, man.
Let me ask you a question. Are you
Yeah,
excited about this card?
it's Money in the Bank, and I like that match. So yes, I'm interested. I think the two most interesting things to me are the six-man tag and the Intercontinental match, the Intercontinental Championship match. Only because I want to see what Braun Breaker does, and they did a good job of establishing that Sammy isn't going to be so easy to take out, but that Braun Breaker is a monster nonetheless. They did a good job of establishing that on Monday, where even though he got outsmarted, Braun Breaker had the last laugh. Kind of cool. So I'm interested in that. I always like Money in the Bank ladder matches because I don't know what's gonna happen.
So my other problem is I'm kind of iffy on this show, but like I have a funny feeling Punk is going to be involved again, and I'm like, at some point you got to wrestle, dude.
I think they might hold Punk out.
But I mean,
I've been
I'm
wondering
starting to
about
care
that.
less and less because
Oh
it's same
no.
thing with like Mercedes Monet. After a while, I'm like, you shut up. We need to wrestle at some point. You have to stop talking.
I feel like after what happened last week, or not this, I guess it was last SmackDown, um, where Drew just took him out. I was fine with that. Then letting him do this thing with the Money in the Bank ladder match to try to get, because I mean they have been keeping this feud going through promo. I mean
Mm.
it's promo and Twitter, and there's no reason it should have worked as well as it has been.
Well, because McIntyre's been knocking it out of the park. I mean, there's
Um,
a side of him I've never seen before,
yeah,
and
yeah, and it's
it's
great.
working. Yeah. All right, so let's go through this. So we have the Intercontinental Championship, as you mentioned, Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. So the encyclopedia says Sammy by DQ or countout, and I tend to think he's right. I don't think Breaker's going to win the first time around.
And I don't think he has to.
No, but I think they're
It's
going to draw this out a little bit, and I think they
yeah,
should. Um, so I agree. I think I agree. I think it's going to be Sammy by shenanigans. I don't think it's
yeah,
going to be. I don't see Breaker getting. I could see Breaker getting pinned in some kind of like surprise pinfall, and then totally
yes, but
destroying Sammy
shenanigans
after.
still. Yeah,
But
still shenanigans.
yeah, so I'm going to stick with Sammy.
Hmm?
What do you think? Are you agreeing?
I am agreeing with you.
Okay. All right. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We have Io Sky versus Chelsea Green versus Lyra
Lyra.
Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi versus Zoe Stark. The encyclopedia has selected Tiffany Stratton. I tend to agree with them.
You know, I have felt like Tiffany Stratton was a foregone conclusion until Chelsea Green got into the match. And I feel like if anybody could make that briefcase interesting and entertaining, it's probably Chelsea Green. So I think I'm gonna pick her.
Okay. I've in my research I have seen people using that same logic. I don't agree with it. I think it would be a horrible move because she's not a good wrestler. And
Well,
I
no,
think if she tried
okay.
to cash in,
I don't think that's
I don't think
true.
she would win.
I don't
But
think that's true that she's not a good wrestler. I think she is a far better wrestler than she's been allowed to be on WWE television.
okay.
She's ever shown on WWE television. And this is me going back to like Lucha Underground days.
Okay. I'll be honest with you, I am not familiar with her work other than what we see now. So, all right, men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We have Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus Chad Gable versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre.
Who are you looking at?
I think I was. It's funny. I hate to agree with the encyclopedia, but I was going to pick Jey Uso. I think he's really the. I mean, Carmelo Hayes, no. Andrade, no. Gable, no. LA Knight's involved with the man I hate.
Arnold Paul, whatever his
Right.
name is.
Paul, whoever, Paul Lind, whatever.
Yeah.
And Drew McIntyre is involved with Punk. So to me, the only guy I could see winning this match is Jey Uso. So that's who I was going to go for. When I saw this, I'm like, he's going to be like I copied him. But I've been thinking Jey Uso for weeks.
Yeah, no. I think Jey Uso is the smart pick here.
So do you think?
Although, damn Chad Gable, one of these days you're gonna get.
No, they're never.
One of these days you're gonna get there. He's so good.
No. Yeah, but he's
so good.
He's missing,
and he's officially cheated death.
Yeah, but he's I don't know something. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't have faith in him. For whatever reason. Do you think when the Bloodline feud really kicks into high gear, it's going to be The Rock, Roman, and the Usos against Solo and Tamaloa and Tamayoyo and all these other guys, Jacob Fatu?
I think it's going to be Roman on his own for a while against all the new Bloodline. And I don't know where The Rock is going to fit into it because I never know if he's going to be able to show up. So you don't know until he shows up. You don't have any idea.
Oh, I think Survivor Series is going to have 4-on-4.
That would be nice. I don't know. I don't know yet. I think eventually, everybody always comes. It happens all the time. Factions break up. Terrible things occur. And then they become teammates again because they have a common enemy. So it's possible.
I think because where's Jimmy Uso? I mean, he's gone.
Yeah, have you seen? I don't know if you notice on SmackDown every so often they'll have like free Jimmy Uso signs in the crowd.
All right. So our World Heavyweight Championship: Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins. I'm going to say I think Priest's reign has been less than stellar. And the fact that they put all these stipulations in it makes me lean towards Seth Rollins winning. Because I think they're going to break the Judgment Day up. And I think this is how it starts. Because Priest is going to have to leave the Judgment Day if he loses. I don't see Damian. I mean, I don't know about how do you feel? Do you think his reign has been successful? Because I think it's been very vanilla.
I think I mentioned this last week. Yeah. I can't always tell where Damian Priest stands or what they're trying to do with him, and it's because personality wise, he's very good at all the interviews and the making the events and doing all these things and shaking hands and I was like, well, you can't. He's not going to be the bad guy at the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and clearly he wasn't. They loved him, and like he goes out and, but I don't know if they want him to be that guy yet, like
Well,
that
they don't, because
happy-go-lucky guy,
each. Here's my problem with his reign. He hasn't won a clean match yet.
right?
And like, if you're establishing someone as a real world champion, they got to win some matches on their own.
Hmm?
They just have to. I mean, Flair didn't originally start off with the Four Horsemen. Harley Race never had guys interfering on his behalf. Dusty Rhodes, like, you want to establish this guy as a main event player. At some point, he's got to win some matches on his own.
I mean, and to his credit, I mean, we hadn't seen it on the call up, in the call up, but he is a guy who was winning matches on his own. I mean, he was a very long reigning what's it called, North American champion in NXT, and he had that title for a reason, and he won it legitimately.
I like that character better. I don't like this character.
Yeah, the Archer of Infamy guy. Yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah.
I and I feel like he had another title. Didn't he have another singles title in this run? Was it U.S.?
He might have won the U.S. title.
I think so. So he's done some things. Honestly, I'd be happy if this is the match where Seth Rollins cements him as a legitimate champion. If anybody can make it look like that, I think it is Seth Rollins. So I think Priest is going to pull this one out. I hate the idea of Seth Rollins winning it just to give it up to Gunther in a month.
I mean, honestly, what's the better matchup? Is it Damian Priest and Gunther? Or is it Seth Rollins and Gunther? Seth Rollins and Gunther.
And this goes back to the Archer of Infamy stuff. I know what Damian Priest can do if you let him do it. And him and Gunther could tear the house down.
All right. I'm just saying it right now. If Rollins wins, I am going to gloat like nobody's business next week. Just let you know.
Go for it. Did I mention I won't be in town that way?
I'll text you. Don't worry.
Oh, thanks.
As soon as the match ends, you will be getting texts from me.
Getting FaceTime and all this stuff. Oh man, don't do it.
Actually, it's no fun picking on you. You don't bite. It's way better to pick on the encyclopedia because he bites hook, line, and sinker. And I'll be honest with you, when Freddie was part of this team, I would basically antagonize Anthony to make Freddie laugh. So you notice I've been kind of quiet the last few weeks.
Yeah, friendly to everybody. It's
because I'm trying to get my feet here under this new regime, but it's coming. It'll be back soon. He'll piss me off soon enough. All right. The last match, 6-man tag team match. We have Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline, which is any combination of Solo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. Tama Longa Loa. I feel like they did like a Mad Libs when they named those guys. It's like take the last name and make this the first name. The encyclopedia has selected the Bloodline. I tend to agree with them. I think the feud must continue, and for that to happen, the Bloodline have to win.
I agree. Also, can we just get more Jacob Fatu on the mic, on TV in general? I just find that guy so engaging.
I'll tell you what. I am not a Solo Sikoa fan. I think
Let's talk about that.
He was great as the enforcer, but as the main character, he's being outshined by the other three guys.
So I think that's an interesting statement, and you're not the first person I've heard say that. I've been interested in what he's been doing. I found it interesting. I like the idea of a guy who never talked, never even smiled, on purpose at least, except when Sami Zayn was around. Like a guy who's just that legitimate of a heavy for a group. I like the idea of him trying to just take the power and no longer want to be the little brother to the Usos and the little cousin to Roman Reigns and any of that stuff. It's all very I don't know if you're familiar with those shows, Power and like all the spin-off shows that they do, but it's very much like that to me. It reads very much like a season of one of those. And I kind of like it because I remember listening to Usos talk about that. Like, hey, he doesn't talk now, but trust me, this is the guy apparently that we're seeing is closer to the guy that he really is in terms of he's a bit of an ass and a smart ass too. I kind of like it, so I don't hate it. I just want to see where it goes. But yeah, Tama Tonga is a very engaging persona. Oh, and Jacob Fatu is ridiculous.
Well, I don't expect him to be the leader because he's like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no, he is. But what I mean in terms of spotlight,
Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa, like, you know,
I'm fine with the Solo Sikoa. I also feel like they've been building that up even before.
Yeah, well, they have. He's the logical choice. He's been around the longest.
But. Yeah, but even they would always tease that thing with him and Roman a little bit here and there, and I'm all for it.
There's a YouTube video out there of Sami Zayn and the Bloodline, and anytime I'm feeling a little down, I play that video because first of all, I didn't see every segment of Sami with the Bloodline, and second of all, I didn't realize how many times he broke them up.
Yes.
And this YouTube video is every time Sami Zayn broke up the Bloodline, and like, it wasn't even the lines he said; it's how he delivered them. Like when he said, like, we're going Waffle House. Solo loves Waffle House, and you see Solo like sitting there, and he's like see him go like this because he's covering his mouth because he's starting to smile.
Yep.
And then of course the infamous, he's not feeling very oozy.
Yep. And everybody.
Roman was like I don't know how they didn't just like time out. Yeah. Stop it, Sami.
He said that in front of a live audience.
And there's just, you can tell they're just amused. Like it was like, and you can tell they were getting ready to be amused. Like you can, if you watch like Jey Uso's face, you can tell he's watching Sami like, oh, here it comes.
Yep.
All there right, was Jey, one. Don't smile. Don't smile. Don't. And then you see him cover.
Damn. There was one where they cut into it and it's like he's at the tail. He's like just at the end of a joke, and it's just like, yeah. So I said, my dog, I'm already here, and that's like the whole thing. And you never heard any of the setup or any of that stuff. And Jimmy starts laughing, and then Sami just keeps doing more, and you see Solo have to turn away.
Yeah, that's in that video. You're like, what is he saying? But you know, like the way he's delivering it is what's killing them. He's selling it like he's in.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was so good. That was some of the best television they had produced.
Yeah,
the company ever produced.
Yeah, it was some great TV. You don't get like that's rock and sock material right there. That's up there with rock and sock and some of like some of my other favorite segments is when Stone Cold went and was Vince McMahon's friend and he's singing to him, and that kind of and he can't sing and he can't play the guitar and Vince is trying not to laugh. And you can tell he's like please, you can tell he's like, please stop.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold just decided to go one step further, and Deborah sitting behind him like all annoyed. I'm like, there's just sometimes they just get you. You know, I mean,
when Stone Cold gave Kurt Angle that little cowboy hat, and he put that thing on and just smile.
My favorite part about that is Angle was like, "Oh, you think you're gonna make fun of me? I'm gonna turn into it. Watch this. I'm gonna make it like it's the best thing I ever got."
Yeah, definitely.
And the other one I love too is when Vince is giving them the the pep talk.
Yes.
And Austin's like repeating everything he says, and he keeps going. The Undertaker like, yeah, we gotta win. And the Undertaker's like, you can tell like he's trying not to crack a smile, but then Austin realized it and was like going back at him again and again and again.
And at one point, he just smacks him in the chest. All right. Well, we have one more
totally off
show.
track.
We have one more show to close out the Independence Day weekend that's broken up by an actual work day for who knows why. It's NXT Heatwave. And I'm guessing that I'm using my psychic abilities here, that you're going to defer
like I always do.
to the judgment of one.
I look at it like this is this is all you and the Encyclopedia's fault because I don't watch this show on a regular basis. So you insist on making picks. So I figure the worst I can do is the worst Encyclopedia does because
Yes.
he watches the show regularly.
Mm-hmm,
So I just mimic what he picks because I try. I just can't always get to watch the show.
That's fair.
So
listen, there's a lot of wrestling on television.
That's too much almost.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to eat, you got to sleep.
I hardly ever watch Rampage. I occasionally see Collision. I read all the results. I try to stay up on what the results are, and if there's something I really want to watch, I go back. But like you said, there's only so many hours in a week, and I'm either going to watch NXT or get divorced, and it's cheaper to watch, cheaper not to get divorced.
Yes.
So I skip NXT sometimes. All right, so let's start at the bottom here. We have 4 women I don't know: Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace versus JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. Mm-hmm. No idea who any of these people are. So who are you picking?
Honestly, I mean, I've followed this feud a little bit. I think I'm just going to copy the Encyclopedia's choice here.
So the Encyclopedia has selected JC Jane and Jasmine Nix.
Yeah, they need a win, those two.
All right. Moving on. The Women's North American Championship, which I was only aware there was a North American Championship for women like a week ago. Kaylani Jordan.
It's a very new title.
Sol Ruka?
Sol Ruka, who you might have seen clips of. She's the one who does that move. It's like a cutter in the off the turnbuckle.
Have not.
Corner. Oh, it's if you look up Soul Snatcher on YouTube, SOL Snatcher, that's her finishing move. It's really impressive. With that, I think Kalani Jordan still wins. It's her second defense.
Soul Snatcher. Sounds like a bad B movie.
Yes.
NXT Tag Team Title match. We have Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus Chase U, which is Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. Ridge Holland is banned from the show as per Andre Chase. I don't know why that's important.
He's been, for a little context, he's been helping them cheat to win.
And they don't want him to do that.
Without their consent, yes.
Okay. So the Encyclopedia has selected Axiom and Nate Frazier. And in true Devil's Advocate style, I'm just going to pick the same exact people.
I think that's fair.
And you're copying as well.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah.
All right. So far, there has been nothing different. Last chance match for the North American title. We have Oba Femi versus Wesley. Is Oba Femi a thing?
Oba Femi is ridiculous.
I've actually seen him wrestle, and I thought he was pretty cool looking.
Yeah. He's gigantic. He's ridiculously strong and as confident as anyone can get.
Is the TNA thing over? Is that crossover ended?
No.
So there's just nothing on this pay-per-view with those.
No. I think the last time they had a crossover was at the last TNA pay-per-view, which was a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. So, but apparently there's still more down the road. So I guess the last one was from last week. With, with the Battle Royal.
So there is a stipulation: if Femi wins, Lee can never challenge for the title as long as he is champion.
Yeah, I think that's good because Wesley needs to fight new people. So I am
Okay.
all for Obafemi. I made the mistake of picking against him last time. Well, I'm not picking against him ever again.
All right. We have the NXT Women's Championship. We have Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice. The encyclopedia has selected Booker T's favorite, as he put, Roxanne Perez.
And Roxanne Perez was one of his students, so yes. Huh. I don't know what you do with Lola Vice if she loses. Hell, let's keep it on Roxanne Perez. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and make a change. I'm changing my pick for the tag titles.
Okay, you're switching it to Chase U? All right, I will make the change. Are you just doing that because you don't want to pick everything that Anthony picked, or
I
you
see
actually think Chase U is going to win?
I see a reason that it could work out.
All right.
It makes
And
for some
lastly,
interesting stories.
the fatal four-way for the NXT Men's World Championship. We have Trick Williams, the champion, versus Javon Evans, versus Ethan Page, versus Sean Spears.
That's right.
And the encyclopedia says, "Whoop that Trick." Now,
Yeah,
that could be interpreted two different ways.
it's
Is
a
Ethan
weird
saying that Trick's
catchphrase.
going to win, or
Yeah,
Trick's going to get his ass whipped?
It's a weird catchphrase if you think about it too much, because he says it too. He'd be like, "Yeah, the end result was whoop that Trick." And I'm like, well, wait a minute.
That means you're going to lose.
Yeah, that's what they're chanting that on your way to the ring. Which, if he ever turns heel, it'll be great because they can just chant the same thing and he can get mad about it, like he just realized.
He's cheering to lose, basically.
Yeah, right?
Beat me up. Beat me up.
That being said, I don't see the title coming off anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't even know who Javon Evans is. I know who the other guys are.
Javon Evans is, I think, what is he, like 23? He's like relatively new kid. He's part of that school that's come into WWE that is all ridiculous collegiate and Olympic level athletes. And
yeah, like the volleyball girl I saw.
That I think that's Saruka. That might be her. Yeah, and there's a lot of them. They you know.
Do you have it? While we're on this topic, real quick, do you have any problem with that?
No.
Because here's my thing, real quick. How much passion could these people have for actual wrestling if they're already playing volleyball or doing like? I would rather sign people who are toiling away independents who really want to make their name in wrestling than a volleyball player who has gotten money thrown at them and said, "Oh yeah, you know what? Oh yeah, wrestling, sure, why not? I'll give it a shot." What kind of passion is there? I mean, the volleyball girl, all she did was talk about volleyball. She didn't talk about how much she wanted to be a WWE superstar till the very end. Somebody wrote that for her.
Well, then that's the problem. It's the writing. Listen, most wrestlers were doing something else before they got into wrestling. So let's not pretend. Let's not pretend.
That's not always true. That's not always
really,
true.
How many former football players?
There are some.
Or failed football players.
There are some.
How many former basketball players?
That I don't know.
Players.
I don't know about those. Usually it's football.
Most famous basketball player, Kevin Nash. Second most famous, Undertaker.
Giant Gonzalez.
Giant Gonzalez.
But wait a minute. Usually football and wrestling are very close together. It's almost the same thing.
Well, okay, but if you've noticed
no,
that
basketball, no, they're not the same.
Well, no, but
not the same.
Well, hold on now. If we've seen the trend in professional wrestling is towards the hyper athleticism, then yes, there is more similarity between those sports and wrestling than say traditional linebacker.
It has nothing to do with your athleticism. It has to do with how much you want to be a WWE superstar.
But that whatever sport you play doesn't define that.
What I'm
Like,
saying is
if
these people aren't living and dying to become WWE superstars. They're
how do you
becoming
know?
WWE superstars because they're not talking about it. Like, talk to the Miz. Talk to people like him who, from like the age of 5 or 10 or whatever, wanted to be professional wrestlers and were willing to do whatever it took. Versus someone who's playing volleyball who Triple H contacted and said, "Hey, you might be a decent wrestler. Let's try you out." And they go, "Oh yeah, wrestling, make some money, get on TV, sure, no problem."
Kurt
That's
Angle.
you can't say they're the same thing.
Kurt Angle.
What about Kurt Angle?
That's exactly what they did with Kurt
Right,
Angle. They
but
threw a
Kurt
bunch
Angle
of
was
money at him. He had no interest in wrestling. And they threw a bunch of money at him to come try it, and he just ended up being really good.
but he was an amateur wrestler though,
He's an Olympic wrestler.
right?
Fine. That's not a professional wrestler. We already know that they're not the same
All right,
thing.
so
As a matter of fact,
you found one guy.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was stunning Steve Austin, didn't he get into wrestling because he'd gotten injured in football?
No, I don't think
Really?
so. I don't think so. But again, football I don't count because football and wrestling are very similar, in my
Why?
opinion. I'm
How?
talking about because it's contact sport.
So, okay, come on.
Look,
Contact sport where you really hit people as opposed to when you are supposed to protect them.
you don't really hit people in wrestling. When you come off the ropes and you hit
Are
me
you
with a shoulder
supposed
block,
to?
you're not hitting me.
Are you supposed to protect your opponent in
Yeah.
professional
In
wrestling?
football,
Do
you're
you
not
care
supposed to
if you
hurt
protect your opponent?
You're not supposed to try and hurt them.
Wasn't one of the biggest problems with Goldberg that he couldn't tell the difference?
Well, Goldberg's a moron. What can I tell you? He's still an idiot. He still thinks he can do one more match. With who, I don't know. And for who, I don't know.
Fair. Somebody's going to pay someone to do that Ryback Goldberg match.
Goldberg would wrestle his kid for the right amount of money, I think, and injure him no less.
And he'd say he apologized enough about it.
Yeah. Look, stop your whining, okay? I bought you something for Christmas. Leave me alone. Yeah. He's such a jerk. All right.
We got right through all our picks. Anything you're looking forward to? Doing anything good for the holiday weekend?
I'm going to see a minor league baseball game tomorrow night, and there's fireworks after. That's why we're on Wednesday rather than Thursday.
That's right.
So by the time being other places,
by the time this you're ready to download this episode, people, you'll be nice and drunk and full of hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever other goodies you've been eating. Maybe an edible or two. I don't judge. Oh wait, I'm supposed to judge.
Well, yeah, you actually should judge. I'm the one that should be advocating. I'm the one that's advocating all the illegal substances.
That's right. What's going on here?
Well, either you're rubbing off on me or I'm rubbing off on you. Either way, let's end this show.
Very true. Well, all right. Well, that being said, I believe that's the end of the show. So it's the Sports Frenzy podcast on Instagram, Sports Frenzy Pod on Twitter/X. Look for us on YouTube. It's the Sports Frenzy podcast. We will be back with you again next week where we will be grilling the encyclopedia about everything that happened at Money in the Bank and testing him on his answers. So everyone take care. Enjoy your holiday. Peace.